It seems like the hot thing in the United States right now is states getting new flag designs. Utah redesigned their flag, Mississippi introduced an updated version of their flag, and my home state of Minnesota introduced a new flag design, and now the state I reside in, Illinois, is working on getting a new flag. Today, we're going to take a look at why the state of Illinois is getting a new flag, what the design of the flag could look like, and what my thoughts are. But before we get into it, be sure to support the show by giving this episode a like, leaving a comment, and of course, by subscribing. This is Ziggy the Designer, the show where we talk about the world of graphic design and the people who make it move. Design is all around us, we might as well talk about it. So if I could pin this new flag craze on anyone, it's this man right here. This is Roman Mars. Close to 10 years ago, he gave a TED Talk about how city flags are probably the worst designed things ever, and I'm inclined to agree with him. In his talk, he introduced the world to something called vexillology, which is known as the study of flags. And from that point on, people began to, appreciate flags and, flag design on a deeper level, which makes sense, right? As communities, we want the things that represent us to look nice. Take sports, for example. There's a reason that sports uniforms and sports logos get so much attention, right? And that's because as sports fans, we feel connected to the identities of the teams that we root for. So if one of my favorite teams goes out on the field wearing a great uniform, I feel a sense of pride in that. Whereas if they go out on the field wearing something a little questionable, I can't help but ask, what are you guys wearing? And I feel like flags play the same roles for communities, right? If you're a city, if you're a state, if you're a country, you want a well-designed flag that represents you and your people and your community. So why is Illinois getting a new flag? Well, there are three reasons. The first reason is because, simply it looks bad. Right, and I know design is subjective, and I know some people love this flag design, but let's face it, it is a bad looking flag. And if you want objective criteria for why it's bad, well, here you go. If you watch Roman Mars's TED Talk, and if you haven't yet, I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. Roman talks about the 5 basic principles of flag design in his talk as outlined by the North American Vexillological Association. And those principles are to keep it simple, use meaningful imagery, use 2 to 3 basic colors, no lettering or seals, and to be distinctive or related. And when you apply those rules to Illinois' flag, right off the bat, we're seeing 4 broken rules. And I'm saying 4 because I'm going to give it a pass for showing meaningful imagery. So there you have it, right? Reason number 1, the state flag looks bad. Reason number 2 is that it's just time for a new flag design, right? Illinois State Governor J.B. Pritzker said in a press release about this initiative, throughout our 205-year history, Illinois has boasted 2 official state flags, and it may be time we create a new one that exemplifies the values of our great state. So Governor Pritzker is pretty much saying that it's time, right? It's time for Illinois to get a flag that accurately represents the state and what its future holds. And the last time Illinois updated its flag was in 1969, and that update was simply adding Illinois to the bottom of the design. Otherwise, Illinois has pretty much had the same flag design for its entire history. And reason number 3, everyone is doing it. As we said in the intro, Utah got a new flag, Mississippi got a new flag, Minnesota got a new flag, and many other states are in the same process that Illinois is in getting a new flag. So when you combine, having a bad flag, the right timing, and other states getting new flag designs. It's the perfect combination for an initiative like this. So what will this new state flag look like for Illinois? A couple of weeks ago, the state of Illinois concluded public voting on the 10 finalists for the flag designs. From there, the flag with the most votes, the design with the most votes, will move on, hopefully go through some revisions, and it will be the new state flag. So let's take a look at the top 10. Here's our first design. I'm a big fan of the blue with the star and the 21 red and white stripes representing Illinois being the 21st state in the country. What I'm not a fan of is that big I that occupies the negative space between the stripes and between the blue. I feel like it takes a lot of the focal attention away from those elements. Whereas, if we just had the blue, the star, and the stripes, we could have had something very beautiful, something very poetic. Our next design I like a lot. It tells the story of Illinois in a succinct and efficient way, using the state butterfly and just the 21 stars. My only critique is that I wish that the butterfly was optically centered. There's just a little bit of negative space on the top, right above the butterfly, that's bothering me, but I'm sure that'll be fixed if this one gets selected. The next flag has a little bit going on here, right? There's a lot of historical significance to this design as it showcases the silhouette of President Abraham Lincoln and the silhouette of the state of Illinois. It's a very poetic design, right? But the outlines get a bit complicated, and I feel like that's what hurts it here. If the designer simplified that outline work a little bit, this would have been a much stronger looking design. The next flag I'm a little torn on. I love the blue stripes in the background that are meant to represent Lake Michigan, the Mississippi River, the Ohio River, and the Chicago River. All bodies of water that played a big role in the state's history. But it's that emblem in the middle that I'm having trouble with, right? It's a violet flower that's made up of corn kernels that has a 21-pronged gear in the middle. That emblem just gets a little too messy for me. I wish the designer would have shown just a little bit more finesse in telling that visual story. Next, we have a design that I could see being the new state flag, if it was up to the government here. It keeps things simple with the blue bars representing the Chicago River, with the gold star, and with the roundel being an abstract representation of the top of Abraham Lincoln's top hat, which, if you look at a picture of Abe Lincoln, he's probably wearing a top hat. It's a fun story, it's designed well. This is a strong one in my opinion. This next one it's just okay in my opinion, right? The colors and the 21 stars look great, but we run into that issue of complex shapes with the silhouettes of Illinois and President Lincoln here. And honestly, I can say the same thing about this design too. You can tell a graphic designer did this one. It's well designed. It's definitely the most artsy out of the 10 here. If you want to pause the video to read the story behind it, I invite you to do so. I feel like the designer did a great job of showing us the story rather than telling us the story by using literal elements such as the silhouette of Illinois or Abraham Lincoln. Great work here. Going down to the final two. I feel like the committee felt obligated to throw in a design that was an evolution of the current flag, and I feel like including this design in the top 10 defeats the mission of this initiative, especially when there were thousands of submissions that showcased great design work. And at number 10, we have a design that, if it had a little bit more time to bake, it could have been a lot stronger. There's just a little too much visual tension among the stars. The flag description mentions that the small white stripes represent industry and commerce. I feel like that was a missed opportunity to use color to show that. So what do I think? Ultimately, this was the design I voted for, and I like how the flag tells a story about Illinois in a succinct manner. It's not overtly saying, hey, this is Illinois, much like we saw in the designs with, the state silhouette or the outline of President Lincoln. But overall, I'm a little disappointed in these final flag designs. Illinois, Chicago specifically, has such a strong tradition in design. Chicago is home to two of the best design schools in the world at the University of Illinois at Chicago and at the School of the Art Institute. The world's most storied design and advertising studios call the city and the state home. And you're telling me no designers native to Chicago made anything better than the 10 designs we just saw? Now, I've been living in Illinois for only 3 years. I'm a transplant, so it's not my place to tell the story of Illinois. So I'm just a little upset that the great design community here in Chicago didn't step up to the task of designing a flag for our state. What do you think about these final 10 designs, though? And how do you feel about all of these states getting new flags? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. That's all I have for you. Be sure to give this episode a like, subscribe, and share. I've been Ziggy the Designer. If there are 2 things you need to know about me, it's that 1, I love design. And 2, I'm very opinionated. I'll talk with y'all later. Bye-bye.